Hey folks, my name is Erin McGoff. I'm a filmmaker and career educator living in New York, and today we are going over some questions that you can ask at the end of a job interview. And be sure to stick around until the end of the video because I'm going to tell you 2 questions that everyone forgets to ask at the end of an interview, but they are so important. Roll the intro. I don't have an intro. Let's just get into it. Okay, so at the end of every single job interview, you might not know this, you're supposed to have some questions prepared. So at the end of the interview, the interviewer is gonna say something like, well, that's all the questions we had. Do you have any questions for me? And the worst thing you can say in the whole wide world is, nope, I'm good. Because not having questions prepared just kind of shows that, you're not enthusiastic or passionate, you didn't really do research, and, who wants to hire somebody like that? No one.
Do we get our resumes back, or do you keep them? Because I only have the one, and I have a chili recipe on the back that I really want to keep.
But what questions do I ask, Erin? Well, let's talk about 2 questions that you shouldn't ask. The first question is, so how much am I going to get paid for this? If you want to ask about salary, there are much more delicate ways to do so. You can watch my salary negotiation video for some ideas. And the second question that you probably shouldn't ask is, yeah, I have a vacation in 2 weeks, so am I still able to go on that? It's just jumping the gun. Okay, they're not even sold on you yet. Don't start making plans. That's like going on a first date and being like, so what are you getting me for my birthday? It's like, cool it down, girl, cool it down. So now that we got those out of the way, let's talk about some questions that you can ask. I've compiled a list of 20 questions that I love to ask and hear at the end of an interview, so let's go. Here are 6 kind of basic, general, common questions. Number 1, if I started in this role today, who would I be reporting to? Number 2, if I started in this role today, what would be my first assignment? Number 3, what is the biggest challenge currently facing the department or company? Number 4, how would you personally describe the culture here? Number 5, how will my performance be measured in this position? And number 6, what is the most important soft skill to be successful in this role? Those are all nice, general, squishy, safe questions that you can just throw out there if you can't think of anything else. Okay, let's get on to the spicy ones. Next up, I have some culture questions. So these are questions if you're trying to get a feel for if this company is completely toxic. Except you can't ask, hey, is this company completely toxic? Let me know. So these are other ways that you can ask that, but in professionalese. Number 1, what makes you proud to work at this company? Number 2, I'd love to know what your personal favorite day working here so far has been and why. Number 3, may I ask why this position is vacant? And number 4, what is the onboarding process like for new employees? All of these questions are going to give you answers, but also watch carefully when the person is answering them. See if they're holding something back. Maybe they imply something a little negative. Maybe they straight up say something a little negative. Just use your little tentacles, antennas. Get your toxic radar up. Is this a good company? Next up, we have benefits questions. So if you're trying to figure out things like PTO days, healthcare, and stuff like that, but you can't really ask about it straight up because it comes off kind of like self-serving, here are some sneaky ways to do that. Number 1, can you tell me about any professional development or opportunities for upward movement here? Number 2, I read on the company website that you offer comprehensive health and wellness benefits. Can you tell me a bit more about that? Number 3, I saw that the company offers a competitive 401k match. Can you tell me a bit more about that and the vesting schedule? And number 4, I saw that the company boasts an inclusive and diverse environment. Can you tell me a bit more how that's implemented? Of course, like all these questions, don't ask them if they're not appropriate. So if the company doesn't advertise 401k or health and wellness benefits on their website, don't ask about that. Common sense, right? But a great way to ask about benefits, a pro tip here, go to the company's careers page. A lot of large companies have careers page, and they're gonna have a little section that's why you should work here, benefits, trying to entice people to work there. And that's where you can get some intel. You don't wanna say so I heard you guys pay well. Instead, you wanna say oh, I read on your company website. I read on your LinkedIn. I did my research. And that way it comes off you first try to find the answers yourself, and now you just want clarification. You know what I mean? The next section is specific questions, and these are the best, juiciest, those wonderful questions you can ask at the end of an interview. So these are questions that relate to the current affairs of the company or the industry. So for example, you should look up the company on Google and click the little news tab before you go into your interview and read the news. So say the company just acquired a smaller company. You could say, I just saw that you acquired a smaller agency in the news. Can you tell me a bit more about the strategic reason behind that and how it's been going? Another great question to ask is about COVID. I would love to know how the pandemic affected company culture and profits, and if that's still happening today or if you feel like the company is fully recovered. Another good thing to ask ask is about changes in the industry. So you can ask something like, I know AI is all over the news right now. You know, what are these companies' plans to implement AI in their products? And then another really great pro tip here is to look up the CEO. See if maybe if they have a website or they were recently featured in any articles, and then bring up something that they said. I once heard the CEO mention that he encourages people to fail fast. Would you say that's a big part of the company culture here? These questions are great because they're really rich. They show you did your research and they show that you're like almost already working at that company. Like you're asking questions like it's almost like your first meeting at that company. And I always say that about job interviews, like treat it like it's your first meeting. Don't treat it like an interview where it's like there's this wall. Treat it like, okay, this is my first day on this job as an editor. What would I be asking? And this last section are 2 questions that you absolutely have to ask at the end of every interview, and so many people forget to ask them. The first question is, may I send you a thank you note? After every job interview, you should just send a nice, short little thank you note. Again, it just kind of signals to them that you know professional etiquette, you're capable, you know how the game is played. But it's also just kind, and it's just a good thing to do. It's a good thing to get in the habit of doing. It's also a great way to collect their email. You know, if you haven't had their email yet, you can say, hey, would you mind if I send you a thank you note? Yeah, you can send me a thank you note. Okay, great. Oh, you know what? I don't think I actually have your particular email. I got the interview, you know, through a generic email. Would you mind if I took that down real quick? And the second question that you have to remember to ask at the end is, when can I expect to hear back about next steps? So many people leave a job interview and they don't ask this question, and they're just kind of like sitting ducks, like, I don't know when I'm gonna hear back. But the thing is that different companies have different timelines. Like some companies are gonna let you know that week. Some companies are gonna let you know for 2 months. They might have a really, really slow hiring process. So always ask about when you can expect to hear back about next step. They're gonna give you a general timeline or maybe even a specific date. And then when that date comes around, that's when you can email them a little follow-up, just checking in on their hiring decision. So that's the video. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok for daily free career advice. And I have tons of goodies and freebies, like a free salary negotiation guide and a career guide and 5-year plan, all that stuff down in the description. And if you're looking to get a new job or find your dream job or just kind of actively take control of your career, since so many people don't do that, by the way, I highly encourage you to join my Career Workshop Intensive. It's a 4-part program that I painstakingly designed and put together, and it's kind of changing people's lives. I had somebody find their dream job and 4x their salary while taking the workshop, like they hadn't even completed it yet. So if you think my free advice is good, definitely sign up for the workshop. I'll put a discount link down in the description down here just for you guys. And remember, you got this, and I'll see you next time.